I love the saying, and I continually remind myself of this when I'm building businesses. And it's very simple, but it's very powerful. And that is that business building should really just be called team building.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way.
What's up, team? Welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast, where we talk about all things building, scaling, and absolutely exploding your chiropractic office. Whether you're someone that's in launch or build season, you're just kicking off and you're looking to really get things cranking, or you're someone that's in scale and looking to scale properly, make it profitable, leave a big legacy, and actually build a business, this is the podcast for you. And speaking of scale, Dr. Lona, my awesome co-host, how you doing, lady? How's your week? What's been happening?
It's a great week here. Got to watch a baseball game last night. My son's playing baseball and in the practice having good conversations with my team today. And I know we're going to jump in talking about team. And Bobby, I know you have built a massive team. So we've got a lot to share today on, the fact that you're not doing chiropractic in a vacuum.
Yeah, totally. And, just before we started this podcast, we're having a conversation about that as well. Lona, you were saying how, you're in the process now where you're hiring multiple people at one time and how you're noticing this trend more and more. And every single time I talk to people that are scaling offices that are, I would say, for lack of a better word in my mind, absolutely kicking ass in chiropractic, that's one thing that gets brought back to my mind, how important team is in this whole thing. In fact, I love the saying, and I continually remind myself of this when I'm building businesses. And it's very simple, but it's very powerful. And that is that business building should really just be called team building, right? Business building equals team building, meaning you want an amazing business, you got to build an amazing team, right? So let me talk a little bit. We want to talk today about what are the mistakes that we see across all the offices that we work with, that we're involved in, either ownership or coaching or mentoring. What are the most common mistakes we see? Because they say success leaves clues. And then they also say stand on the shoulders of giants, which means you don't have to necessarily make those same mistakes, or you can make them way more quickly if you identify, well, what are those mistakes, right? And so we can be mindful of them, and we can either make them way quicker and get to success in a more streamlined way, or a lot of time, which I was blessed in my journey, actually avoid those mistakes altogether, or lessen their impacts hugely because I'm aware of these mistakes. So, Lona, you and I, when we were talking about this and we're discussing it, we really came down to, okay, there's 4 main areas that people make mistakes on building their team. Sure, we can distill that down further and say, all right, there's 20 to 25 different things that happen, right? However, if you really kind of like put them all together, what you work out is that there's really 4 recurrent themes that people make as mistakes when building their team, right? So why don't we kick off? I'd love to get your insight into mistake number 1, because I would say mistake number 1 is the most common one. I would say mistake number 1 is definitely one that I made in the beginning, right? Even as I was learning this content, I still hadn't mastered it. I'd made mistake number 1 so many times. Why don't you take us through what's the most common mistake that you see? We call mistake number 1 when people start building their amazing A team.
Well, the simple answer is we don't hire the right person, but it starts up the chain from there because we lack vision and clarity over who the right person is going to be, because we don't spend enough time with our vision of what is the role I'm going to be hiring for, who do I need, what am I looking for, and we're not front facing sometimes internally with our mission and our vision and our values so that we get the right person. So in my experience, being really enmeshed in confidence about what we're creating as the CEO or the business owner, and knowing it's okay to hold the bar high when you're bringing someone in, that they should get excited about what we do here. We're not just looking for a warm body. And all too often, I think I see chiropractors who hire people that they know maybe isn't exactly what they were looking for, but they think they're going to make do with, maybe the person for now, and hopefully they'll get someone better later. And And my experience would be like, hold out and work on your vision and know who you're really looking for, and don't settle in that capacity, so that you really attract the A player there. Bobby, what's been your experience in hiring the right person?
You know what? I wanna echo what you just said there. It's absolutely spot on. And I want to give you like a little bit of a very quick story behind this, because I look at right person. Cool, guys. Sounds like a bit of a no-brainer. Okay, how do I hire the right person? And you know what, Lona? I say it's really similar to if you rewind your mind back to the dating days, right? When you're dating somebody. I remember my first girlfriend ever when I was in high school, right? And dating her, and a few weeks into this thing, I could realize, this is something missing, right? And at the time, I couldn't identify what it was. I was like, she ticks multiple boxes. This relationship ticks multiple boxes, but there's something missing. Now, in hindsight, when I look back and I turn around and I go, okay, what was missing? Well, first of all, core values were different. So I was very, very high. My core values is family and faith. When I looked at her core values, it was very different, right? So faith was not part of it at all. Family, she was very independent, right? Even at that age, at like 17, going into 18, it was like almost moving out of home, right? And I come from a very family home. Like most people in my family staying at home well into their 20s, some even later, right? It's a very typical Serbian, Italian style home, right? Eastern European. So I look back on that and I go, yeah, complete misalignment on multiple levels when it comes to core values. Fitness was really big always for me. So even from the age of probably year 10, so that would have been like 15 years old, that's when I got my first gym membership. Up until then, I would train in the backyard, right? So I was always exercising, training, getting to the gym, making sure I'm looking after my health physically. And that wasn't evident in her, right? So when I look back on it now, really what it was, if I was to distill it down into my conscious brain now that has awareness around this, it was we had a misalignment in core values. And I would say that when you are building a team, that is the exact same place that most chiropractic officers who screw this up go sideways. They hire people in the beginning that they have a good feeling about, right? It's like, yeah, I spoke to this person. She seems great. She seems cool. We get along. I'm an optimistic guy. I can make her work. I can totally see how, she's not perfect, but we can get her better. We can get her good, right? And so we hire based on like how we feel, but we don't actually have a lens through which we should be hiring through, right? And so this is why the first thing, like literally the first thing that you start doing when you're setting up an office, and if you didn't do this when you set it up and you find yourself now in scale, go back and revisit this, because this is also the first thing that we do in our Scale CEO program. We take offices and turn them into businesses that function without their owners. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to identify your core values. Your core values and your vision story, which we spoke about previously, about what are those things in your life that are the most important to you. Identify your business core values. Health, we believe are the groundwork of all happiness, right? That's a core value. So then when you know that, when I'm going in the hiring process, that lens is through what I'm looking at this person through. I'm like, all right, this person I'm interviewing. Let's say I was interviewing you, Lona, for a CA position, right? Health, I will talk about that. And I would say, hey, so one core value you'll see in the team is health. We all invest in our health, time, energy, money. We believe that the groundwork of all happiness. We believe that if you have your health, you can achieve any goal that you want in life. And if you don't have your health, people have one goal, and that's to get their health back. And we believe that health comes from within, that it's an internalized process. We believe that your body's intelligent, designed to be healthy. So one thing you'll see on our team is health is paramount to everything, right? I'd love to know a little bit about, hey, your health journey. Talk to me about that. And so I had once a CA that I did this to, and here's what the CA said back to me, well, the potential interviewee, right? She comes back to me and she goes, yeah, no, definitely. Look, Dr. Bobby, health is really big in my family as well. Started well. So we really want to look after our bodies. So, my husband, I'm always making sure that he's taking his statins and his cholesterol medications. He misses it. I make sure that he's taking it right. He goes, children, make sure they're fully up to date with their schedule of vaccines. She goes, we regularly check blood pressure, right? So we do a blood pressure, screening. I make sure my husband goes to blood pressure testing. Within 10 seconds of her saying this, in my mind, I was like, nah, misaligned core values. And even up until that point, she was lovely as pie and said all the right things and did all the right things. I was like, nah, misaligned core values. She's not viewing health how I view health. So my job now to try and ultimately instill that in her, sure, maybe as a patient, but not as a team member that's going to be teaching other people that. Prime example of it.
Yes, that's great, Bobby. And I think what we lack in leadership a lot of times, which is the work of getting that clear about yeah, what am I doing here? And how am I going to like polarize people either to me, or it should also push people away, where maybe when you would have shared how you view health, she would have been like, oh, like we're not a good fit, right? So, that's the work that we must do as the leader first, or as the owner first. And I think a lot of people shortcut there, because they feel like they're behind. They need someone in here right now. And then it ends up being a revolving door because they haven't done the work to establish like who are we and what do we stand for and how do I attract the right person to that position.
Man, when you've got your core values, Lona, like really clear, this is so easy. Like core value number 2 for us is tribe. So I would say in that same interview, I guess we have a core value around tribe. So Mary, when that door opens at 3 o'clock this afternoon, there's going to be a lot of people pouring in through that door, right? There's like dozens and dozens coming in every 15 to 30 minutes, right? It's packed in here. There's kids in here. There's mums and dads getting adjusted. There's grandparents. There's generations coming here all at one time. And here's the one thing they all have in common. What you'll quickly notice is they're not coming in here because they're sick or suffering, right? This isn't a medical practice. You'll actually notice that 90% of people that come into that door this afternoon that are pouring in are actually in great condition, but they really have a core value around health and they proactively invest in their body to keep their body functioning at its best. And that's why they're coming and getting adjusted, not because they're in pain, right? And so I'm looking for the kind of person that has a response to that that's like, oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I love people. I love seeing a lot of people. That's amazing. So you're telling me people come in here because they're healthy and well and they want to continue to stay well and they want to stay strong and healthy and not just to cheer out and go downhill. Wow, I'm looking for someone whose response is going to be, excited about that, and not someone whose response is like, oh, wow, yeah, that's very lovely. So do you guys see a lot of like back pain as well? And do you do like their response to that person will quickly show me if we're aligned with core values or not.
Totally. Yeah. And I think in a post 2020 world, it's almost made it easier to find who our people are and just can tell right away if like, all right, like you're in for this once you share what the vision is. Like people are gravitating more and more, I think, to that, or they're not stepping through your front door.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%. So mistake number 1, guys, to make it very clear, is not having crystal clear clarity around your core values of your business, what you guys stand for, and your vision story for success. Because when you know those 2 things, then step 1, hiring motivated people, becomes so much easier. But if you stuff that up, it's kind of like in my house here, when I turn out of my house, I live at the end of a cul-de-sac, so dead end street. If I turn right, I can go and explore the world. If I turn left, I'm at the end of the street. I can't go anywhere. So this is like me going out of my driveway, and if I don't get this right, I've turned left, I'm screwed. I can't go anywhere, right? So when you've identified your core values and your vision story, that's me turning right. Now it opens up this opportunity to go out in the world and explore, right? Mm-hmm. So takeaway from this is step number 1, sit down, clarify what's your business core values, what's your vision story for success, because then you'll find team hiring a whole lot simpler, right? Step 2, mistake number 2. What's the second mistake, Lona, that you see in practices people make when they start building their team?
Okay, can I add one more thing to step 1? And that is that you will also fire off of values and vision, right? When you said, hey, we hired you and we were going in this direction and remember we stood for these things and now you're in alignment with that. That also gives you a chance where you could, have those tough conversations because you painted that picture to begin with. So it allows you to like circle back. So I just wanted to make sure to underline that, Bobby.
100%. Great underline. Absolutely. Core values, you hire by your core values. You also fire and people are contradicting your core values too. Yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
Okay.
So on that note, second mistake.
Second point is when like, here's where we're going, here's our values. Now we have to have that amount of clarity over the role as well. So which role am I going to be hiring for? Do I have clarity around the work that role is designed for? Who is what's the butt on, or what's the seat on this bus that we're going, and who's going to fill that role, right? So what butt needs to be in that seat? And I think traditionally in chiropractic, this is a place where we've made a lot of mistakes, where we lump people together, whether we're talking about all CAs getting lumped together or all DCs on the team getting lumped together, when there's actually different delineations of those roles and clarity over what that role is designed for. So the example that's common in most practice would be the differentiation between a check-in CA and a check-out CA. We're generally hiring a different personality with different skill sets for those 2 different roles, but we haven't always done a good job of delineating that role. And so that's an area that I know I a lot of mistakes in the past because I didn't do the work to get delineated in which role we really needed to hire for and what that skill set would be for that role.
So the mistake that I'm hearing is, okay, I've hired the right person. So this person is definitely aligned with our core values. They're on the same page, what we stand for. Yep, tick. Then I put them in the wrong role. Is that right? So we understand that every single human being has a genius, right? God only makes geniuses. However, if we judge a fish by its ability to fly, we're going to be super disappointed with that fish. But at the same time, we're completely missing the genius that it has inside of it, right? So what I'm hearing you say then, Lona, is that we've got to hire the right people, and then we've got to put them in the right role based on their DNA set. Now, here's a common question that I'll get, and I'd love to hear your response in this. All right, Dr. Lee, so I'm hiring a CA. They're going to be on the front desk. Front desk CA. What do I look for a front desk CA?
My question is, what role at the front desk? Are they going to be, is it one CA and you don't have a second one? Is it that you have one person who's going to be more like, welcoming the people, directing traffic in that position? Or are they going to be the one responsible for scheduling and taking money? And, what does that look like? Is there differentiation?
So at the moment, we're hiring we've already got one. She kind of helps out, but we do one CA per shift. So there's one CA that's on the front desk, and that's our CA. That's what we're hiring for.
Okay. And then I'd have a lot of other questions about like what volume you're at and what's the lay of the land in your square footage and how care goes. But one thing I think most of us don't recognize is that having a CA that would be checking people in and making flow happen, and their whole job is like getting people into the right places, like as they walk in, and knowing who needs to go where. So we call them the boss of today. And then on the flip side, in a second position, still up front most likely, you would have the boss of tomorrow, or the checkout CA, who is going to have more of a discipline around like scheduling out, taking money, probably more assertive in that capacity, maybe a little bit more of a like rule follower there because they just want things in order. There's going to be a different role that person would fill that many times is going to lead to a much more profitable and organized practice. So I would encourage you to separate those roles.
So what I'm hearing you say, Lona, is what I should be doing is, if I've got one CA, they're actually doing two roles. They're doing a check-in CA role, which is things like meeting, greeting, arriving, directing flow, answering phones, okay, face of the practice. But then also equally, they're like a check-out CA where they're saying goodbye to people, making sure appointments are all booked, at report of findings times, mapping out schedules, making sure payment plans are set up. So even though I've got one person, they're actually sitting in two seats, and when I get big enough, I should separate the seats. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Got it. All right. Hopefully that makes sense, huh? But that's a question that I get all the time, so I really wanted to go deeper with that, and that was an awesome answer. Have I explained to you the game that we play in life, in real life, with like people arriving in the practice, people leaving the practice? Have I ever explained that to you?
No, let's hear it.
All right. So check out, this is, for me, guys, the easiest way to understand this. And it doesn't matter right now whether you're, just looking at hiring your first CA, or you've hired your first CA, or you've got multiple CAs. Okay, this is going to help every single person. So we play this game where we take a CA, all right, and we say, okay, we get a CA to just stand in one spot. And then we grab 10 people, and we put 10 people outside the room. And to those 10 people, we say this. We say, okay, your job, guys, is to arrive inside the practice and to say to the person that's at the desk, the CA that's standing there, hey, I'm Bobby. I've got an adjustment today at 3 p.m. or 3:15 or 4 p.m. or 4:30, okay? And you guys do that when you arrive, okay? And when I say go, you start coming in. And then we take 10 people and we put them inside the room. We say, all right, your job is when you're leaving the office to say to the CA at the front desk, okay, see you next time, Lona. Thank you so much. Catch you next time. Have a great day, right? And then we grab the CA and we say, all right, your job to all those people coming in the room is to say, yo, Dr. Lona, what's up? Have a seat. Let's get you wobbling. Let's get ready to have the power switched on. Okay, every single person that's leaving, your job is to say, next appointment is booked for Monday, 3:15. Great, power's on. All right, ready? Go. And then we start, all right, people pouring in. That CA stands there and goes, hey, Lona, we got you 3:15. Excellent, let's get you wobbling. Oh, Bobby, yep, next adjustment is at 3:15. Power's up. Oh, Mary, hey, Mary, how you doing? How's your day? Yes, Dr. Bobby's running on time today. It's okay, have a seat. Zach, see you later. Zach, I've just got to talk to your account balance last time. Have you changed your credit card? Oh, hey, Martin, how you doing? Yeah, we got you in at 3:30 today. Have a seat. Let's get you over there. I'm just coming back over here to Zach. Terry, see you later. See you on Tuesday. Power's on. And very quickly, that becomes overwhelming.
For sure.
Right? Because what's happening is they're doing both check-in and check-out tasks, right? Can you see?
They see, double the people we see in the back, right? And I think we lack the ability to see that, because if they see them on the front and the back side, it's twice as many as we see in the back for adjustments.
Yeah, and if you have multiple DCs, we have 3 DCs adjusting at once. So you might have 3 DCs that are packed, and that's busy for that DC. The CAs see all 3 of those people twice, right? But what you quickly see with that little exercise is that it's a different hemisphere of the brain. The check-in CA, when someone's arriving, is the hemisphere of the brain where it's very front of the facing, face of the practice. Hey, you doing, Lona? Welcome. Great to see you. Also, hey, let's get you wobbling, mate. Let's get you prepared. Right, Bay 1's yours. All right, whereas when someone's leaving, that's very analytical. It's like we're making sure that care plans are organized. If there's missed appointments to be made up, that needs to be made up on the checkout. Making sure payments are all set up and organized and all the debits are going through properly, right? Making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. That's a checkout. So it's a very analytical person. So if you've got one person doing that role, which is cool for a certain size practice, understand they're using 2 different hemispheres of the brain, and that becomes exhausting. And so, Lona, what I'm hearing you say is when you hire the right person, work out, are they a check-in CA? Is that their natural DNA? Are they a checkout CA? Is that their natural DNA? Or depending what role you're looking for, if you're looking for an office manager, that's a very specific prototype of person. If you're looking for a back office CA that's very good with making sure all the bills are getting paid, that's a very specific kind of person. Do you need someone that can help with your spreadsheet, making sure all your vital signs and statistics and everything is being done and collected properly? Or are you looking for someone that helps you with marketing? Are you looking for someone that can help you with lead flow, manage your social media company, manage internal leads and referrals and calling people and booking new leads? Because again, that's a very specific kind of person.
Yes. And as your team grows, when you first hire, you might be like, they're doing all of that. I'm going to have them help me with all of those things. But they're probably wired more one way or the other. So as you would bring on the next CA, you're going to want to hire what you don't have, right? So we want to diversify the team.
Yeah, 100%. Looking back at my journey when I was a CA, I absolutely sucked at checkout CA. Horrible. Appointments were made incorrectly. Payments were corrected incorrectly, right? Letters weren't horrible, right? But I was like world class as a check-in CA. I was like face of the practice, meeting and greeting, fist bumping people, getting referrals. Well, your kids in here getting checked yet? Let's get them in, maybe book them in, right? Great at check-in CA, horrible at checkout CA, right?
I'm not shocked.
You're not surprised, eh?
No.
Yeah.
I love it.
So mistake number 2 is you've hired the right person, but you're not putting them in their natural strength, their natural position of strength, right? And just think of guys, sport. Think of basketball as a great example of it. It's like, you're hiring the right person. If that person isn't 2 meters tall, probably center position ain't the best position for it, right? If they're like 1.82 m, right? Even if they're aligned with the vision, the core values of the franchise, what we're trying to achieve, they probably shouldn't sit in the seat of a center because it's just not in their natural DNA because they're not, 1.90 m or 2 meters tall or 7 foot, right? They're not 7 foot, 6'9", 7'1", all right?
You got it. Yes.
Love it. All right, let's move on to now mistake number 3. So, recap. I've hired the right person. I'm really happy this person's aligned with core values, right? We've put them in the right position of strength. And guys, there is a special tool that you can use for this. There's different profiling scans that you can use for this. So it's not guesswork. Don't guess and just say, I think the right role is checkout CA. No, we've actually got profiling tools that will show you, bang, they run a test. All right, this person's perfectly geared for a checkout CA. All right? Or this person is perfectly geared for a check-in CA or new business development marketing. There's profiling tools. If you guys are interested in those, just reach out to Dr. Lona or myself and we can point you in the right direction of how that looks, right? So once we've done that, mistake number 3, where do we go sideways after we've got the right person, we put them in the right seat?
We do not have them doing the right work for their role. And so part of that is recognizing the role and what that role is designed to do would be the correct work. And we need to train them on doing the correct work. So we're going to come alongside them, show them, teach them, train them, develop them so that they are doing the appropriate work for their role so that we move the needle together. instead of spinning our wheels.
Yeah. So I call this, in summary, proper, complete, and thorough onboarding. So don't just take someone, toss them in and go, great, so here's what we expect you to do. So you check out CA. So you're going to be the person that's mapping out appointments and making sure payment plans are set up properly. And look, here's our payment plans. First installment is X amount, and then it's this, and then it's this, and then it's this. Here's our care plans. Oh, cool. All right. You'll go ahead now and just do some of those and you'll get more comfortable with it, right? No, understand that there is a 90-day onboarding period, and that 90-day onboarding period is sacred. What you do in that 90 days is going to impact and reflect the entire relationship that you have with this team member, okay? It takes, this has been proven, about 90 to 120 days for a human being to settle into something, to find their groove, to find their feet, for their true personality to start to shine, and for them to start to feel comfortable and contributing in a meaningful way. I like to say to my leadership team, I like to say, guys, for the first 90 days, they're going to be leaning on us a lot, meaning this new team member is going to be leaning on us a lot. So we've got to have proper onboarding systems. We need to train them multiple times a week. We should have a competency checklist where in this role, here are all the areas that we need you to develop competency in. And we're going to spend the next 90 days, multiple times a week, training you through this competency checklist so you can get to the point where you're comfortable. And you know what? I say to my leadership team, they're going to be leaning on us a lot. Okay, hey, Lona, I'm not quite sure. Can you show me? So when you map the appointments out and you've got to put progress reports, how do you do that? Right? Or hey, I had this question, just practice member asked me about, can they pay as they go? How do I answer that? Right? They're going to be leaning on us a lot, and it might feel like, oh, it's actually created more work. But if you do that 90 days well, if you do it properly, after 90 days, and sometimes it happens sooner depending on the person, but after the 90 days, then you're going to be able to lean on them a lot more, right? Then they actually develop mastery in that role better than you, right? My checkout CAs are world class. I could never even dream to do a checkout CA role like that, because it's their natural DNA. They're sitting in their natural position of strength. So they're going to lean on you a lot for the first 90 days, but understand the juice is worth the squeeze, because after 90 days, you're going to be able to lean on them, and ultimately they're going to start owning that position in a higher way.
Yeah. And Bobby, I think you brought up a great point, which is also, and many times those of us that are entrepreneurial, where we've launched a practice and started a practice, we may learn in a very different style than our teammates. So we might be totally cool with yeah, throw me in, I'll learn on the way down. And we try and do that with some of our teammates, and they're like deer in headlights, frozen, not going to show up for work the next day because they do not want that, right? So recognizing too that you're going to have to develop yourself as a leader to speak into different types of learning. And for some people, it's a lot of repetition. And for others, they want to learn by doing. So they might be ready to go into more of the action steps than maybe the last person you onboarded. And that's okay. That's part of why we have to spend this one-on-one time with them to really start to know them, so we can help grow them in the way that speaks to how they learn and how they are going to train.
Yeah, exactly. And, we talk about one of the key pillars of successful long-term relationships is to have clear expectations and agreements on the front end of a relationship. So that goes with your team as well. If you're hiring somebody, you want to lay out clear expectations and agreements around this role that you're moving into. Here are all of the areas. List them out, okay? 1 all the way through to how many you have, 100, okay? Here are all the different expectations, the competencies of this role, where you've got to learn how to map checkouts here, how to map appointments in advance using our software system. You've got to know, okay, how to set up payment plans and how to make sure money is being collected. You've got to make sure you understand how to separate progress exams from progress reports. You've got to understand there's a progress exam 1, there's a progress report 1, there's a progress exam 2, there's a progress report 2, then there's a re-exam, we call it the R4. Then guess what? There's an R5 re-exam at the end of corrective care. What the hell is corrective care? You're going to learn that. You're going to learn initial intensive care, corrective care, the protocol. There's so much. You've got to lay it all out in a competency checklist and say, here are all of the areas. Don't worry, Lona, you don't have to learn all this today. We're going to spend the next 90 days teaching you all this, and my promise to you is within 90 days, you're going to be at a point where you are a pro at this. You're confident. You're like, you know what? Got it. I understand exactly what a progress exam 1 is, progress exam 2 is, re-exam 1 is. I know exactly what corrective care looks like. I know exactly how long it is. I know that we do progress exams every 12 visits. We do re-exams at the end of that. That's called an R5. Then I know we've got wellness care where people are on weekly adjustments, and we still do progress exams every 12. And then when they do the annual review, that's called the R6, right? They're going to know all of these things. If you've onboarded them properly and you spent the first 90 to 120 days making sure that you're pouring into them above and beyond, so that they learn, all right, well, what does the right work actually look like? And you're setting them up for success and not setting them up for failure.
The whole reason we're bringing teams on is because our mission delineates that we're going to need to be leveraging other people's talents and skills, right? Which really doesn't happen until we get past that training part where you do have the right person and they're doing the right role and they're doing it now the right way and being trained and developed so that they can take ownership and qualities in that position, leadership qualities in that position.
Yep. Exactly. So set them up for being a leader in that position. So mistake number 3, guys, just to recap now, is hire the right person, someone who's motivated, aligned with our core values. We put them in the right role based on their natural DNA strength. We profile scan them, put them in the right role. Step 3 now is let's make sure we make it really clear about, all right, what does the work look like in this role? What are all the areas we expect you to be competent in? Let's develop a competency checklist. And then let's make sure on the back of that competency checklist, we have regular times that we meet now multiple times a week to onboard you successfully over the first 90 days. Don't worry. I know you're going to have a lot of questions. I know you'll have periods where maybe you can feel a little bit frustrated. I'm here to support you. Just reassure them for that first 90 days, guys. Really critical and really important, right? And then mistake number 4. What's the 4th most common mistake that you see with people when they start building out their teams?
Well, I think we alluded to it there, which is like they're doing the right work and now they're doing it the right way, meaning they're taking it and they're running with it because they know which order things need to be done in. They understand how it all fits together. They're starting to really become leverage in the practice because the role can develop bigger and better than maybe it ever did before, because you are doing the first 3 things correctly, that now that position can grow the practice mission. So making sure even things like we were talking about the check-in CA earlier, when they start doing the right way, they know the order in which the flow needs to go. They can be masterful about their position and also be measured with their KPIs and their projects and whatnot so that we know we have the whole cycle happening correctly.
Yep. So pillar number 4, 4th mistake, if you were to summarize it, is that practices don't regularly train and continue to develop and pour into their team, right? Maybe you onboarded someone great, excellent. Oh, training is done now. This person knows what to do, and we don't continue to pour into, train, and develop people. And for me, Lona, I always think about this. If you are interested, if you're even remotely interested in having good stick rates with your team, stick rates meaning team members that stick around for a long time, all right? Then understand how humans think and how humans behave. And it's been proven that human beings love progression and development. So it's not necessarily the attainment of a goal that satisfies us, it's progression towards a goal that satisfies us and keeps us happy, right? And that's why training development is so key. That's why ongoing training and development is one of our core values, right? We want people that love to be trained, develop, evolve, improve, learn, continue to get better, right? And so we need to provide that structure of ongoing training development so that we keep the saw sharp. And as you said, we keep going to new levels of mastery.
I love that. And it's also why our mission and our vision should pull us through on some level too, because there is day-to-day things that are tough that we're going to ask people to do. But when they're bought into that mission and vision and can see that we're working towards this, this dream that we're painting, that we're creating together, a lot of people will want to work very hard to attain that vision and that mission that you stand for. So it all fits together.
Yep. Spot on. Continual progression and continual development and training. They're either going to train with you and develop with you guys, or they'll train outside and they'll look for other ways they can develop and train. That's when people leave.
So good. So good.
Love
Thanks,
it.
Bobby.
Final thoughts, anything you want to add?
No, I think, you started the podcast, this episode, saying building a business is about building teams. And, I've always said, I love collecting great people, right? When you've got the right people and you have a vision that is going to require multiples, there's generally going to be a seat on the bus for you. As you develop as a leader, you can start to see how you leverage other people's genius. And that really is fun.
Yep. I love that. I also love collecting great people, great practice members and great team members. And you can only do that if you're really clear with your core values and your vision story, because then you can identify what great people look like.
Totally.
Yeah. Love it. All right, there you go, guys. Hey, guys, please, if you've enjoyed this along with other episodes, if you could help somebody without necessarily knowing the person and without also getting gratitude or without getting recognized for that help, would you do that? And if the answer to that question is yes, I would, well, then one of the ways that you can help somebody, guys, is by leaving us a 5-star podcast review in here. If you leave us a 5-star podcast review, that's absolutely one of the ways that we can get out to more people, help more chiropractors, help chiropractic. So if you're enjoying this, please, guys, click on the 3 dots at the top right-hand corner of the app that you're listening to this on, and just leave us a 5-star review and just leave us a few sentences about what you love about the podcast. And of course, if you've got any questions, if you have any support that you need, team questions, any challenges, you can reach out to either Dr. Lona or myself. Either directly, you can message us. Messenger is really simple. Or you can find us at drlona@theremarkablepractice.com or Dr. Bobby, BBY, at theremarkablepractice.com, and we'll make sure that we get back to you with any challenges or any questions you have. Lona, it's a pleasure as always. We'll see you next time.
Right back at you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.